Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your Japanese Grand Prix pre-edition, and it is great to be back. Personally, it's great to be back, and it's great to be back in Japan, this wonderful circuit. Look at the beautiful weather that we have. Apparently this is as good as it's going to get. We are expecting torrential downfalls for the rest of the weekend. Something I learned this weekend, the sea is only a couple of miles in that direction. I had no idea we were that close to the coast, but apparently we are. There's a big old typhoon coming in, so this is apparently as nice as it's going to get. So rain expected for the rest of the weekend. And the hardy fans, though, no doubt will be out en masse, as they always are. Incredible fans here. And of course, the biggest cheers, as they were last year and will again be this year, will be for Honda and will be for McLaren. Last year, we can put that one in the scrap bin. We can throw that out. It was a real year of learning, of understanding, of getting used to being back in Formula One again. And we all remember during the Grand Prix itself, Alonso being passed like he was standing still, and that animalistic kind of scream into the radio of GP2 engine. It was a very public denigration of Honda in front of all its execs on a weekend that was supposed to be full of pride. But since that point, you look at the pace that they had in Malaysia, you look at the pace that they have increased, come from at the start of this season to where they are now. The advances they're making are spectacular, and Fernando Alonso arrives here this weekend positive that a repeat of last year's woes will not be forthcoming. New power unit back in your car this weekend. How impressed were you with its running last time out? And given the positions that you finished those sessions, how optimistic are you for a good result with it in the back of your car?
Well, I think on the power unit, let's say that there is no more power. It's exactly the same power. It's a little bit better reliability. So I think the results that we can get with that power unit are not related to increase of power. It's just the ability to do the races with not any more reliability problems, hopefully, and no more penalties. So yeah, happy with the progress anyway of the power unit the whole season. 12 months ago, very different situation. So if we can make a similar step in the next 12 months, will mean that we are in a very high position.
This is the thing. If you look at the time that you ran in Malaysia, okay, the track had changed a little bit and everyone improved. But the gap from last year to this was astonishing. This time last year, you described your engine as a GP2 engine. How would you describe it now?
Formula One engine.
Better is what it's supposed to be. How much optimism, how much positivity does that give you, give the team that you are so much on the right track now?
I think we all feel that. We don't need to tell anything by the team. Last year we all knew that we were not ready. Last year we all knew that we were probably in a different category in terms of preparation, in terms of power level, in terms of many things, reliability, etc. And we use all that frustration, all that problematic to put more energy in the project and to be in a situation that we are now today. So it has been a good progress, an enjoyable process for drivers as well to feel the project growing up so quickly. But as I said, we all want more, and next year is the time that we need to put the last step.
What would be a good result for you this weekend?
I think, being honest, the first three teams are unreachable. I think they have a big advantage over everyone else. So this seventh place is the golden position at the moment.
Couldn't be more different to last year.
Very different.
Fernando Alonso then, confident of being back in the points here at what is the team's, or the engine supplier anyways, home race. One Spaniard who probably won't be in the points this weekend, Carlos Sainz. Remember in the early part of this season, a lot of the questions we were asking Carlos were about what happens in the second half of the season, because that Ferrari engine in the back is already a year old. You're not going to be getting updates, and no matter how good the car is, when everybody else gets their engine upgrades, you aren't going to be able to compete. That certainly was the case last time out in Malaysia. He had a brilliant race which went very much under the radar purely because he is now so far down on power that even a majestic drive is unlikely to bring in points. Really strong race from you in Malaysia. Was it frustrating that the result wasn't maybe what you could have expected from the early part of the season, having put in that kind of a performance?
Yeah, thank you. It was sometimes it's difficult to see, when you do a strong race, but you are fighting for P13, P12. But we finally came in P11, and with that kind of performance in Malaysia, maybe in the first half of the season would have given us a P8, a P7, and we would be celebrating like crazy, because that is for us our target. But nowadays looks like a strong race is not enough, to get into the points. even though motivation is still there, motivation in the team, we're still willing to get points, we're still willing to get into Q3s, but we know just by the nature of our package, it's very, very difficult at the moment.
And it's going to stay like this till the end of the season, isn't it, without any engine upgrades coming your way? How do you keep that motivation up, knowing that a great drive like you had last time out might not be enough to get the results that you were getting earlier in the year?
Unfortunately, yes. Also because the nature of the tracks that are coming are very similar to the Malaysian ones, like a couple of very long straights, some high speeds, low speed corners, but yeah, the nature tells us that would be our fighting position for the next 5 races. But when you are living the dream, you're a Formula 1 driver, you turn up to a circuit, you still want to extract the maximum performance out of the car in a quali lap, you still want to do the best start of the grid, you still want to do the best overtakings, you still want to do the best race possible. So it's not like I'm going into a race we can say, I cannot anymore fight for a P7 or a P8, I have to fight for a P12. But I enjoy so much being a Formula 1 driver that I go for it anyway.
With the driver market relatively stable going into next year, lots of people are talking about technical directors and where they might end up. James Key is always spoken about in such high glowing terms, and Williams seems to be a favourite for him maybe for the future. How important is he to the Toro Rosso setup? What kind of a loss would he be if he was to go?
Well, I think James Key for Toro Rosso is probably one of the main parts of the pyramid, let's put it like that. He's a key, apart from the surname, I always say the same, it makes me laugh, but he's probably very important for us, and it would be a big loss for us. I mean, we've had for now 2 years probably a top 5 chassis, unfortunately not coming with the engine package, but the chassis has been performing at a very high level for the budget we have and the resources we have, so I just can pray for him to stay probably for at least for next year and then a year after.
Interesting that Carlos Sainz would refer to James Key as the key. Indeed, he may be the key to the technical director silly season, as it might end up being. There's also talk in the press at the moment that the man who will replace Adrian Newey at Red Bull Racing will be the man who used to, I know it's just a yellow background, doesn't give much away, but we are actually down here at Renault. The man who used to be at Enstone, James Allison, who went to Ferrari, that didn't work out. Apparently he's been approached by Red Bull to replace Adrian Newey. So, as we say, it's a fairly static driver market, but it could be in the technical directors that we see things really start to shake up. Anyway, we are down at Renault for a reason. From Carlos Sainz, who might not be looking at scoring points for the rest of the season, to a man who has scored now his first Formula 1 point after that race in Malaysia. Jolyon Palmer had a great weekend after a disappointing qualifying, but still the frustration exists that he doesn't know if he has a seat for next year. But 1 point, it was 1 point, wasn't it? It was, yeah, just the one. Better than nout, and every little helps at the moment in trying to keep hold of his grip on his Formula 1 future. First Formula 1 point. How much did you enjoy the race in Malaysia?
I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the end of it a lot more than the first half. I mean, it was quite boring drive, really. I did 2 long stints, just nursing tyres, still keeping the pace up. And then, the last 15-20 laps when I knew I was in 10th and I had Carlos pressuring me behind. Then I enjoyed it. I was just putting my head down and keeping the gap, basically. So, and then of course when I was in 10th and there was a point at stake, it felt like back in the GP2 days of being actually winning a race and have someone ride on my arse. So I just thought, right, I know this feeling, let's bring it home.
You seemed eminently frustrated after qualifying. Did you have to sort of reset mentally overnight before the race?
Yeah, I guess, but it's just, that's what you do, really. Saturday I was gutted because I knew that the performance was there for a good result and really I went away from it in qualifying. But then I woke up on Sunday, was feeling good. I knew the car could be good as well on the long run, so it was just about trying to make sure I got the most out of it, and we did. So it's a good day.
Every performance at the moment obviously is crucial in terms of impressing the team for next year. Is there much more that you can do at the moment to convince them of your merits for next season?
Well, there's always more you can do. In my first point, I can get back in the points this weekend. Would be a nice start. So there's been no decision yet. I don't know when there's going to be one, but until there's a decision, then it's good that I keep on improving myself, keep showing them what I can do, and hope that they make the right decision in the end.
The Malaysian Grand Prix brought a slightly unexpected but very welcome 1-2 for Red Bull Racing. Daniel Ricciardo taking his first win of the season from Max Verstappen. It was a great Grand Prix, and if we're completely honest with you, Red Bull Racing were in the mix on merit, not just because Lewis Hamilton's engine went, to quote David Hobbs, kablamo. They looked really good, I think, all weekend. The pace was there. They certainly worried Mercedes because they split their strategies, and Lewis was having to push in order to maintain that gap over Daniel. And if things had panned out, could we have seen Verstappen, who was two-stopping, actually chasing after him, similar to what happened with Ricciardo chasing down Nico Rosberg at the Singapore Grand Prix. And if we think about the start of the year, I think Red Bull have made some amazing advances forward in order to actually be on merit, getting there. Not quite on terms yet with Mercedes, but certainly getting there. Anyway, great 1-2 for them. We were in Tokyo at the start of this week. So were those guys. We were driving Mario Karts around the city and bumped into them. The reason I'm bringing that up is because Max Verstappen references that at the start of his interview, which follows, as does one with Daniel Ricciardo, race winner last time out in Malaysia.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How
Yoshi.
are you? Yes.
Yeah, you're Yoshi today.
Fine. You got
the
it.
whole weekend. Actually,
you've got to do it next
Have
year.
you seen
It was
him?
amazing.
Of course.
Have
Yeah,
you
I've seen.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
You got to do it.
I was sitting in the car.
but we'll see
Wait.
you as well.
Get this videos away. Look at this.
Ah, it's real Buxton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yoshi.
It's crazy.
It's 80 kilometers an hour.
80. You did
No
it?
helmet.
No helmet. Yeah.
Flat out?
But by the end, you're just sitting at the traffic lights, just waiting to go, and you've got a truck on one side, but you just lights down, and just head down.
All right. Well, next
go.
year we do it all together.
Done. Christian's going to love that. Last time out, lots of people would say that after Daniel didn't win in Monaco, after Barcelona, that the team had asked you guys to hold position in order to give him back that little bit of success. Is that what actually happened?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I was just a bit unfortunate with the safety cars that were coming out. Otherwise, I think we were anyway on a different strategy. But that's racing as well. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. I mean, Monaco, of course, Daniel lost out. And I think from Barcelona, I think we had good pace and we tried a different strategy which worked. And now we tried a different strategy again, and I think it was the right one. But because of the safety cars, it didn't work out this time.
How much did you enjoy that battle with Daniel, and how much of a vision of a potential future did it give you and give us?
It was good. I mean, clean, on the limit, of course, but we gave each other room. I think that's how it should be between two teammates. I mean, I think in turn 6, normally I wouldn't have given so much room to someone else, but because it's your teammate, of course, you give a bit more room.
And also, Red Bull were genuinely on the pace there. It wasn't simply a case of Mercedes giving that thing away. How optimistic, how happy are you with the gains that the team has made throughout the season to put you in that position?
Well, I think definitely, I tried the different strategies, so I was still within the pit window of Lewis, so, he had to push for it to get out of that pit window. So I think that means that, we were there, and the car is constantly improving, and I think that's very important.
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good.
Good. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than winning a Grand Prix. How good did admittedly out of a boot, but how good did the champagne taste?
Champagne was good. I was a little bit hesitant to. Obviously, I knew I committed to the shoey, and I knew I was going to have to drink a little bit from that, but I wasn't too keen on smashing too much because we were all a bit dehydrated after the race, and as thirsty as I was, I knew the champagne wasn't the answer for me. I probably would have fallen off the podium. So, it was nice to wet the lips, but I was happy to get onto the water after that.
You said earlier in the year that you wanted a win this season. How good does it feel to know the advances the team's made, the steps they've made throughout the season, to have made that a possibility?
That's the most probably encouraging thing. I think it's where we've come since last year and the constant progression we've made this year. So that's obviously looking. I think mathematically I can still win the title this year, but realistically, no. So it's looking at next year and to sort of carry this that looks cool. That looks promising. So ideally we approach 2017 with a championship contention with a car that can do it, and then we'll hopefully have a run at it. You know, stop the silver guys getting all the victories.
I like that you've admitted that you could still win the title this year, that you're thinking about it. It's a possibility, because the guys up at Mercedes, both of them are saying they're not thinking about the title. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Well, I mean, my maths isn't that good, but I know if I win every race and whatever happens, you know, I still got a chance. But yeah, not impossible, but what's the closest thing to impossible? I don't know. Nearly impossible. That's probably my chances this year.
I didn't mean you winning it would be rubbish, but them not thinking about it is rubbish. They've got to be thinking about it.
Yeah, but I think, you know, when they answer, or if they say like they don't think about it, probably I would relate to when they're in the car, probably not thinking about it. I think it's just still, especially for them, they need to win, you know, or they need to get maximum points because they can. So for them, it's okay, focus on your race and do what you can to get your maximum points. So yeah, I don't think they're thinking about the championship in terms of conserving or, you know, just trying to collect a podium. They're still going for wins, but obviously out of the car, they're doing the maths.
Talking about that, being in the car, just one final one, sorry. The race you had with Max, I read some comments from you saying that you've had to look at the way Max races, you've had to study him and figure that out, and you've learned some stuff from him this year. How much did that come into play in the battle that you had with him, and how much are you looking forward to more of those battles in the future?
The battle was fun, absolutely. I think the battle with, you know, anyone side by side is cool, but I think part of it was fun because I knew that the team would have been absolutely like, what's another word without swearing, very scared whilst watching it. But I don't know, I guess part of me knew that we were in control, and you know, I had faith that we would, whoever was going to come out on top of that little scrap, we were going to keep the cars on the track. So that sort of made it a bit more exciting, was that we were scaring everyone whilst doing it. But yeah, I mean, with Max, it was cool. I think, you know, in that moment I was so, I guess, determined just to hold on to my position, even if at the time I didn't think that was in the end the victory. But yeah, I don't think it mattered sort of who I was fighting. I was just going to try and do everything I could to make my car as wide as possible those last, if I had to hang on 18 more laps, then I was going to try and do that.
Never a dull moment with those boys. And what was great was, okay, the battle at the time was a battle for second place between them, so you know, maybe Max didn't quite go as hard as he could have done in that fight. I don't know, that's only hypothetical. What it gave us is that lovely little view of the future all the way through this season. Whenever we've been discussing Max Verstappen and either his overtaking or his defending, it's always been against drivers from other teams. We know Daniel Ricciardo is a hard racer, but a fair racer, and we always wondered how it would be when Daniel and Max went side by side and were actually racing for position. And what Malaysia gave us, I think, is a tantalising taste of what a potential near future could be, in which Red Bull Racing, perhaps back, you know, near the top of the pile, fighting for race wins and potentially the championship, how it could be between those two guys. As Daniel said, squeaky bum time. Wow, that's me paraphrasing him anyway. Squeaky bum time for Christian Horner on the pit wall. But great fun for us, and that's what we want to see. So from two potential World Championship rivals at Red Bull to, down that end of the paddock, to current World Championship rivals, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Hamilton, after the, I think they say, embarrassment of Singapore, in which Ping Ping knew that was going to happen in the middle of a long link. We will continue nevertheless, because I'm not retaking this. Disappointing Singapore weekend for Lewis, just wasn't on it. Came home third on the podium, not the worst thing in the world, but Rosberg had one of his best weekends in Formula One, absolutely nailed every single part of that race and was fantastic. Lewis looked like he was returning the favour in Malaysia phenomenally. He smashed every session. Qualifying was impeccable. The race itself, he looked like he was dead on for the win until the engine went. Now, ultimately, it was a bearing that went in his engine. Mercedes have announced that today. It was a sudden loss of oil pressure. Bearing went kablamo, kaput. There goes the power unit. And it was one of Lewis Hamilton's new power units. So now Hamilton and Rosberg have the same number of power units until the end of the season. They are on a par. But the gap now is back to over 20 points between the rivals. How did Lewis deal with that heart-stopping moment? The galling moment of having an almost certain victory taken away from him through an unreliability issue. And for Rosberg as well, as things now look increasingly likely that they are going in his favour and that he may be crowned world champion at the end of the year, is he allowing himself to think about that? You dominated in Malaysia the entire weekend, every session, the race. When the engine went, we heard it over the radio, but what did it feel like to know that, having put in such a performance, you weren't going to get the win?
Honestly, I'm past the last race. Honestly, I can't really remember too much of how it felt. It definitely didn't feel great, and my heart is 1,000% invested in racing, and it has been since I was 8 years old. So you feel it like it's like an extension of you. So you feel it, like an injury. It's very, very weird. I can't really explain it, but it runs through you like deeper than you knew that it would run when you have difficult experiences. So but you move, as I said, you move forward, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So
you made some comments after the race about potentially a higher power not wanting you to win the championship this season. Call it a higher power, call it fate, call it what you will. The fact that these things are out of your control, would that make it easier to take if you weren't to win the title this year?
I don't know if it makes it easier to take. I think it's just the way of life, This could be a lot worse for me in life, and for all of us, There's a lot of worse things can happen. And I think ultimately, as long as you've done your best job, as long as you've dug deep and given it everything you've got, that's all you can offer. You can't ask for more. You just got to make sure that you do the best you can and shine as bright as you can with your capability and with your talent. And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But that doesn't mean that doesn't change that doesn't really affect much the future. It doesn't mean you can't continue to shine moving forwards.
With just a few races left until the end of the season, it looks like it could be all to play for in Abu Dhabi once again. Last time we did that was 2014, but we had double points. Would you prefer there to be maybe double points on offer at the last race this season?
Not with my reliability issues, no. No, definitely not.
Nico, we've talked all year about momentum, and after that's
the momentum man.
It is. But I mean, after that stunning weekend in Singapore, and it was a stunning weekend, to also have such a great drive in Malaysia, fight through the field and get back to the podium. Do you feel you have a spring in your step this weekend?
Well, of course, it feels good, to have some good results in my back, and so looking forward to this weekend, and I'm confident that it can be a good one.
After Spa, Lewis obviously had a couple of power units in his pocket with everything that happened. Now he's lost that, and you're on equal terms. Does that make you slightly happier over the next few races?
No, because I'm not focused on his power unit situation. I'm just focused on my situation, and I'm pleased with how it's going, and it ends there.
You focused on your own situation. Do you think about the way in which your championship season is perceived with Lewis? I don't want to bring Lewis into it too much, but with Lewis saying after the last race he thought higher powers were at play, and if he lost the championship it was going to be down to reliability more than him losing the championship of his own volition. Do you worry about the way in which the championship will be viewed, that Lewis has lost it rather than you've won it if you do win it?
All that you just said really went a bit far off center, I felt. So no, that's not thoughts that I have in any sense in those directions. And either way, anyways, this is a momentary situation. It's one race, and it's still a long way to go. And anyways, so I don't. That all went a bit too far there.
I suppose I could have formed that last question a little bit better, and it might have got a better answer from Nico. It might not have done. Nico's an odd one to talk to, an odd one to interview. Anyone in this paddock will tell you it's very difficult to draw anything out of him. Very difficult to get a real feeling about what's going on up there. Even from the start of the season, he said, I'm not thinking about the championship, one race at a time. 5 races to go, and he's still saying it's one race at a time. But does he have that introspection? The criticism that was always levelled against his father was he only won one race on the way to the championship. Never bothered Keke. Does it bother Nico that a championship for him might be questioned by those who say he's lucked into it? I'm not saying I do think that. He's done a phenomenal job. You don't lead a world championship for so much of the season and to be leading it again now without doing a great job. But Lewis putting those little seeds out there of, it's reliability that's stopping me from winning the title. Does that play on Nico's head? Am I a worthy champion? It's an interesting one. And it is difficult to get in there and figure out what is going on in Nico's head, because he just is... It's closed book. Anyway, it's going to be a great weekend. So happy to be back. As you can see, the wind has picked up and the clouds be rolling in. This is a pirate circuit, 130 R. You're going to have that for... Has it been World Pirate Day yet? I think it has. I think it was a few weeks ago. It's usually over the Singapore Grand Prix weekend. Anyway, there we go. That's Paddock Pass for this week. Lovely to be back. Can that man there, can Daniel Ricciardo, can he take another race win this weekend? Will they be back on form as they were in Malaysia? Will Ferrari be in the mix? We haven't really touched on Ferrari yet. Mistake that Ferrari is making at the moment seems to be they're covering Mercedes. Their battle isn't with Mercedes right now. They can't compete with Mercedes. Ferrari's battle is with Red Bull. But it might not be, because Red Bull's battle at the moment seems to be with Mercedes. They have stepped it up massively. We're looking forward to a great weekend here in Japan. Join us for all the sessions. Here are the times. Here's where you can catch everything over the weekend here in Suzuka. As I said, great to be back. And join us for the Japanese Grand Prix 2016. For now, though, from Paddock Pass, that's your lot. See you later.